Welcome to Learn Davinci Resolve. This is Kerry Garrison, and today's Fusion Friday is going to be kind of a getting started with Fusion. We're going to go over some of the basics. So stay right there. We'll be right back. All right, in some of my previous videos, I've gone through some projects in Fusion to show how to do some specific things, but today I'm going to do a Fusion basics and just kind of get down to the meat of it. And we're not really going to do a project per se, but I'm going to go over how the interface works and different things. So first thing we need to do is get into Fusion. So I'm going to come over here to my pool. I'm going to go to generators and grab Fusion composition and just drop it onto the timeline. Now I'm going to select that and click on the Fusion tab. This is going to take us into the Fusion interface. Now, what I have here is media out. This is what is going to be sent back to Resolve. Now, I'm going to step back one more time, and we're going to grab just a little clip here, and I want something small. I don't need anything real big here. So I'm going to just grab this video clip here. And if I take this and go into the Fusion tab, it's going to look a little bit different. Here we have a media in and a media out. So the media in is the footage that came from the edit tab and went into Fusion, and then media out is the output of it. So you can have a blank one, which is only going to have media out, or you can have an input that's only going to have media in. So either these types of two, you can start with a video clip or you can start with just a blank composition. So we're going to go back to the blank composition here and get into it. Now, in the left-hand side, this is very much like Resolve, top left here, we have our media pool. So we have our master, our power bins, our smart bins, and we have different video clips and sound files and the different sources of media that are currently in the project. So I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to go to the effects library. And in here, we have our different tools, and they're organized into different categories. So under 3D, we have Bender, Camera, Cube, Fog, Image Planes, Merge 3D, Ribbon, Soft Clip, all kinds of cool things under here. Blur effects, regular blur, defocus, directional blur, glows, sharpen, soft glows, unsharp mask, some other types of effects there. Composition, dissolve and merge, deep pixel, effects, film grain, different types of effects you can do on that. Some filters, custom filters, erode, ranks, flow, generator. These are kind of live effects that can do different things. Input and output, loaders to bring a file in, media in is going to be a piece of media that we want to bring into it. The media out, which is what we already have here, being able to save out. If we want to work with LUTs, because we can do all of our color grading in Fusion as well. And sometimes we need to if we're mixing different types of footage or some text that we want in that we want to kind of match to things. So sometimes we need to do our color grading within Fusion, and we can do that in here. So different types of masks, different types of mats, metadata, some miscellaneous things here, some averaging, time speed, time stretcher, optical flow for usually doing slow motion type things, paint tool. There's an entire particle system in here that you can use for doing snow or fire or smoke or all kinds of different particle effects. Positioning, some stereo effects, camera tracker, planar tracker, and the regular tracker. Now we've used these in previous videos. We've shown how to do some of the different tracking, which is very cool. Transforming, camera shake, crop, letterboxing, planar transform, resizing, scaling, the warp tool, so we can distort in different ways. And I'm going to close this up and go to Open Effects, And there's a lot of open effects in here. I have the Ignite tools, so I can do a lot of cool stuff with that. The keyers, Resolve effects. So a lot of the things we see in the color tab, we have in here as well. And then there's some templates. This is some cool stuff to play with. So there's pre-done things. Some of the neat ones going to be under lens flares. There's all kinds of different lens flares. Some motion graphics, radar, crazy circle. Particles is very cool to play with. Blowing leaves, bokeh edges, bubbles, burning, embers, fireflies, fireworks, flash bulbs. So this will give you a good idea of how to do certain things. So let's take fireworks, and I'm going to drop it into here. And this is very cool to start learning how different things work. So you can look at these different tabs or the different nodes and see how some of these effects are created, which I think is super cool. Instead of it just being an effect that you're dropping in, these are complete systems to be able to work with. Now, I'm using my MacBook Pro 2016 13-inch, pretty slow machine to be working with these higher end effects. So I'm not going to show you all of these because, number one, it would take a while because there's a lot of them, but they would have to render, and it would take hours for me to put this together. On a fast machine, some of these work really, really well. There are some shading tools, stylized text, and some other general tools here: chromatic aberration, advanced camera shake, edge control. So the effects, very, very cool to play with. Now I can look at my clips. I can see the different clips that are on my timeline, so I can switch between them. So a lot of this is going to be fairly similar to the rest of Resolve. Now, a difference in the two screens up here is I can determine what things are in what screen. So I'm actually going to go to my clips, and I'll go over to the next clip here. And now I have my media out on the right hand side. Now, if you look under media out, there's two little kind of icons here. That's telling me which screen that node is in. So it's on the left, it's on 2. If I hit 1, it's going to put it on 1. I can turn that off, I can turn the other one off. So hitting 1 and 2 will put that node into that screen. Now let's bring in something else, just very simple here. I'll just bring in this intro video, and I can put that on 1, and I can have my media out on 2. So you kind of see how the nodes work with the monitors up here. So I'll get rid of that. Get rid of the media pool. We can resize a lot of these things. On here, this is our timeline. So I have my start point and my end point. This is what I'm going to be working in on these nodes down here. Is where is my start point, where's my end point, and that's where my effect will lie. So down here is our nodes. Now, very similar kind of to the way the nodes work on the color page. Each one of these is either an object or an effect. So I really like how this works compared to like After Effects. It makes a lot of sense to me now that I've been playing with it for a little while. And on any given node that you put in here, of course, you go to the inspector and you have all the different parameters for it. So here on this media in, what do I have? I have some different process modes. I have image depth, color space, source gamma type, and not a lot of interesting things here. But now I'm going to bring in another clip. Oops, I need to go to my media pool, and I'll bring in that other clip here again. Now, when we want to mix things together, so to do compositing, we use a merge node. Now, a couple different ways of doing that. My favorite, which is the shortcut, is to hit Shift and Space. That brings up my tool selector, and I can just start typing in the name of the tool. So you can see here it says merge, so I can start typing in merge, or there's a shortcut. So if I type MRG, that's the one that's in the parentheses, it's going to bring up that merge node. Now this is how we put things together. So now notice here as I mouse over this one line, it turns blue. If I click on that, it disconnects it. So I'm going to grab this one from the media in, put it on the merge node, take this output and drag it over to the media out. Now, what happened here? Well, I'm seeing the one piece of footage, but I'm not seeing the other piece of footage. I'm going to put media 2 over here on the left so we can see what it's supposed to do, but it's not showing up. Well, let's figure out why. If I look at this merge node, you have these different triangles on here, and we can mouse over and figure out what they are. So this blue one is an effect mask, so we can have different types of masking going on. Go to the yellow. What is yellow going to tell us? It's the background. And the green is going to be our foreground. Well, if our foreground is the size of the whole screen, well then of course our background is not going to show up because the foreground's in front of it. Now I can switch these. I can right click on it and I can say swap inputs, or I can hit Control T or Command T. And now this title is the foreground and the mountains are the background. Well, can't see them, right? So from the media in, I'm just going to hit Shift Space and hit Resize. Resize. And now I have my resize tools over here. So if I want to stop this plane, it's bogging my system down a little bit here. So I can adjust my height and my width. And now you can see how I have a foreground and background. So I'm going to I want to click on Keep Frame Aspect, so it keeps the proper aspect ratio. Now when I go to my merge node and I swap inputs, well, now the title is in the back, so I can't see it. Swap them again, and my title is the foreground, the mountains are the background. So this is how to do some real basic compositing and overlaying of different effects and media clips. So I'll put that up in the upper right hand corner just by grabbing the triangles there. And very simple. We've now overlaid one piece of video on top of another video. And under this merge node again, let's go and look at here. So we can size it, angle it, flip it, do different types of applications to it. There's the overlay, darken, color, difference, but I'm just going to go with normal right now because I just want it dropped in there. We can have additive or subtractive, alpha gains. Do we want to burn it in, blend it? How do we want the edges to look? The filter method, invert the transform, flatten the transform, the reference size, tons of tools on these merge nodes. Enable depth merge. That's an interesting one we're going to play with in another video. So merging is taking one set of inputs and combining it with another set of inputs. And then from that merge node, we go to the output and we have our final piece. So hopefully this is making some sense to you here. It's not super difficult yet. Where it gets difficult is when you don't really know what tools to use. And as we do more and more projects, we'll get more and more into the different tools. Now, this shortcut bar here is what they think are the most common types of nodes that you're going to use. A background, fast noise, text plus, paint, color corrector, color curves. So this is our color correcting section here. Merge node, channel booleans, matte controls. So this is our compositing tools here. This is our mask tools, rectangle, ellipse, polygons, and B-splines. This is our basic particle tools, our P emitter, P merge, and P render. You can see some of that in some of the other videos that we've done. And then we have some basic 3D tools. So our image plane, shapes, text 3D, merge 3D, camera 3D, spotlight, and the renderer. So it's kind of organized into different sections here for your convenience once you get the hang of it. So there's, as we saw, there's a couple different ways of putting the tools in here. We can do shift space, which is my favorite. We can use the effects library and go to tools. We can right click and say add tool. And this again is going to be organized by category. So a couple different ways of doing tools. Again, one of the things I like about Davinci Resolve is there's usually more than one way to do something. Now let's move up to these monitors up here. They're both the same, so I'm just going to show one. In fact, I can go to just a single screen and show that, or I can go back to the dual screen, which I think is a very handy feature if you're trying to work on some detail. You have your frame percentage. Do you want it to fit? 25%, 50%, 75%, 100%, 400% for really zooming in, or just go to fit. The split wipe view, so I can see a side-by-side comparison of things. A sub view, this is the title of it. Moving on, we have our color corrections, our LUTs, and we can go to a single viewer on that one. So I'll go back to the dual viewer. So the same tools on both sides. Make it easy to kind of work your way around. Once I kind of have things in place, I may end up going to a single view and resizing some things so I can get that as big as possible, so I can get my fine detail in there. Close it back up when I'm really working it within the nodes. Another way of adding a node in here, I'm going to be off any of these. If I'm on something and I add a tool, I'm going to add another merge tool, right? It's going to append it to the previous one. So handy little shortcut for putting them in here. If I have nothing selected and I bring up a merge tool, it's just going to drop it in place here. Now, if I hold down Shift and drop it over there, it's going to insert it into that path. So there's a couple different ways of putting tools where you want them. And sometimes when you add one, it will kind of mix things together. I think if I do this over here and I add this as a background, then it's going to do a merge because that's the proper way of doing things. So I only added a background to the media in, but it put it in a merge node. And of course you can have merge after merge after merge and combine different things together to get to a final. So again, I hope this is making sense. I may be going a little fast. If I am, make sure you comment, and I can always go back and, redo some things to make it a little smoother for you. Up here in the upper right-hand corner, we have a spline tool, so we can smooth out different animations if we want. We have keyframes, so I can move things, I can animate things, I can do a lot of different things with keyframes. We've seen some of that in the Davinci Resolve side. Metadata, so I can see, the same type of metadata I would if I was in the edit page. and of course the inspector, which is going to give us individual tools for all the different nodes. So hopefully this has been a little introduction into the interface of Fusion. And every week or so, we're going to get more and more in depth into using Fusion to do different things. Again, go back. There is a playlist just for the Fusion videos. So if you want to really kind of start getting into how Fusion works, doing some 3D text and things, just bring up the Fusion playlist and you'll find just those videos. Kind of give you a shortcut into the Fusion videos there. Hope this has been helpful for you. If so, like this video, share it with someone that might be interested in Davinci Resolve. Click on subscribe, click the bell icon to be notified. If you really like what I'm doing, would really appreciate you joining the Patreon program there and helping out the channel. It's been growing fast. We've got some cool stuff coming up. Watch for some new drawings and giveaways that are going to be coming. Really appreciate each and every one of you that are out there. Hopefully this has given you a little insight into how to start using Fusion and what the layout is like and some of the different tools that are in there. Thanks for watching. I will catch you next time. Bye-bye.